Genesis 14. Verse number 18. All right. You can stop because if you continue like that, I will start to see. Genesis 14. The word of the Lord says in verse 18, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. He was priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, blessed be Abraham of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which has delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he, that is Abraham, gave him tithes of all. That's the first time the word tithe appears in the Bible. So the story is Abraham has gone to redeem Lot from the kings, 5 kings. This is known as the Battle of the Nations in the Bible. So Abraham with 315 men, he rescues Lot, and then he comes back, and then he meets the king of Sodom and Gomorrah. Then when he meets the king of Sodom and Gomorrah, Melchizedek is also present. Melchizedek is priest of the Most High God. And then Melchizedek takes communion, bread and wine, which is next week's service, and then he distributes to Abraham, the few guys that he was with. Then soon after that, Abraham took a tenth, which was 10% of everything that he had ever had in his life, and he paid his tithe to the priest of the Most High God. So in this statement is an opening of the principle of the tithe, how it operates. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of that today, and I'm going to break it down for you and give you understanding. So because Abraham is our father in the faith, and he gave a tithe of everything that he had, we are also expected to give a tithe of everything that we receive in our lives. Abraham, he participated in the New Testament covenant, because bread and wine is the New Testament covenant. Jesus says, take my body, break it for me. Then he says, drink my blood. So this is the New Testament covenant. And in that New Testament covenant, Abraham then shows us that we then give our tithes to God. What do we give to God? Yes. I'm not doing apologetics today. I'm teaching my church, so I don't have to defend anything that I've read before. Let's go to another Bible verse that I think is important. So before we go to that Bible verse, a tithe is 10% of all that you've received in terms of income or gifts. A tithe is what? A tithe is what? 10% of everything you've ever received in your life. Right from the time I was consciously 10 years of age, even 9 or 8, I would make sure that I give my tithe, my 10%. Back then, if you remember, those of you that has grown up, we would receive that dollar coin, and then you would then break it down. Maputa it at 5 cents, freeze it at 5 cents. Yes, you guys are grown up. So Maputa it at 5 cents, freeze it at 5 cents. So I would buy that as I would go to church, and then I'll take 10 cents, and then I'll put it in the offering baskets. Back then, I was attending the Roman Catholic Church. There were envelopes present, but I wouldn't use envelopes because I did the math in my head. I said 10 cents to put it in an envelope. It's too costly. But without fail, this I tell you before God, I would pay my tithe. Right at the tender age of 8 and 9, I already knew that you must give God 10% of everything that you receive. So the tithe is 10%. The tithe is what? 10%. Of everything you receive. So you're a student, your parents give you pocket money. From your pocket money, you take 10% you give. Then you give to God. If you culture yourself in that culture all the days of your life, you will never struggle when you grow up. If you start paying your tithe when it's $100 and you're giving $10, when the money becomes $100,000, you will never struggle to give the $10,000. Do you understand? Yes. I have noticed that people that struggle the most with their tithe are people that give little. A person who gets $10, I've realized that that's the category of people that struggle to pay their tithe. In my experience as a pastor, I've noticed that the people that get small money, $10 is small money. Say that after me. Say it with energy. Yes, it's not big money. So the people that have to pay the tithe of $1, those are the people that have the biggest problem. In my experience, I've seen it. But once people start to touch $1,000, they become easy with the tithe. It's like I check out bracket record pap. Okay. So the tithe is what? 10%. Say it's 10%. So the principle of the tithe is anchored on the law of covenanting with God. A tither is a covenanter with God. Whenever you pay your tithe, you're entering into covenant with God. We were singing covenant, keeping God here. God is a God of covenants. There are 7 of them in the Bible. And then you become the 8th covenant in your personal devotion with God. Whether it's your prayer life, it's your giving life, it's your commitment to your wife, where you say, I will not touch any other woman other than my wife, or it's your commitment to your husband. All that is just covenanting under God. And so anytime you pay your tithe, you are entering into covenant with God. And this covenant rule is for sustaining generational wealth. This covenant rule is for sustaining generational wealth. I have said it and I'll say it again. Don't live for yourself. Live for the next generation. A responsible person lives for their children. I had a dream, I think 4 days ago, and Roddy was also in the dream. And it was as if he was asking me the question that, what's in it for my generation in that dream? So when I woke up, I knew I have a responsibility to your generation. I have to walk honorably, not for myself. I can't take a second wife, not because I don't want to take a second wife. She's not around, I don't care. I'll hit you. But I have to walk honorably so that you guys that are pastor will not be afraid to bring your wives to church. Yes. There's some churches you go with your spouse, you are scared. Are you listening to me today? Yes. So it's in covenant that I have to live. So when you pay your tithe, you are not living for yourself. You are doing it for your next generation. And it's a covenantal rule to sustain generational wealth. Even if you choose not to have children biologically, but at least somebody will call you mom at some point in life. Someone will call you dad at some point in life. I have my nieces and nephews. They are my children. Before I was even married, they would be in my office most of the time. And I would lay hands on them so much and pray for them. And I would command the blessing of intelligence and wisdom over them because I'm a father. So I live for those as well. Now, when it comes to the principle of the tithe, if you want to live in unlimited wealth supply, you must pay your tithe. If you want to live in unlimited supply of wealth, you must pay your tithe. Paying your tithe is a weapon that will end generational poverty. Paying your tithe is a weapon that will end generational poverty. Please, this sermon is not targeted at anyone. Tell your neighbor that. Say the bishop is just ministering the word. Yes. So poverty and generational barrenness is ended by the tithe. Because somebody might think what I'm preaching because they're not paying their tithe. That's not why I'm preaching it. I'm just preaching it because I know you're not paying your tithe. Poverty and generational wealth and generational barrenness is ended when you pay the tithe. I remember the testimony that my wife gave you the other time, just soon after Night of Excellence. I was really pressing her that day. And I don't know why. I'm never like that. But I sensed a strong urge in my spirit. So I said to her, did you pay your tithe? Because she had got some money. I said, did you pay your tithe? She said, I'm paying when you go to church. I said, no, do it now. Now, I was the priest in the home. So I said, put it in my hands right now. And then we'll command a blessing. So she took an envelope. That's not necessarily a tithing envelope. And then she put a tithe. And then I took it. I put it aside. So she said, are you taking this money because you want to cover for your Night of Excellence? I said, get away. There is a lot of money everywhere. You think I'll take money because I want to do that. If I want that, I'll go to Pastor Matthew. But I sensed a strong urge in my spirit. And so your testimony, you heard it, how God then restored. Now, you end generational barrenness when you pay your tithe. Do you understand? Yes. 2, 3, 4, 5 generations from you, or 2 children after you, they will be glad that you are a tither. When you pay your tithe goes to the house of God. Your tithe goes to the house of God. This is what is exemplified in Genesis 14 and verse number 20, where Melchizedek, who is the priest of the Most High God, stands on behalf of God and receives the tithe. That tithe is going to the house of the Lord. Yes. The reason I'm saying that is that there are people that say, I want to pay my tithe to the poor. That's not the tithing system. Giving something to the poor is called alms giving. What is it called? Every one of us must have a responsibility towards people that are less privileged. But you don't take that from the 10% of the money that comes your way. So the first 10%, you give it to God. In my history of pastoring church, the people that play these instruments have a tendency of not paying their tithe. My experience with church. No, I'm being honest. I'm not afraid of anyone. No one can do anything to me anyway. Yes. My experience is that people that play instruments, most of them, I had one man that paid his tithe that shocked me. That was Keith. Keith would pay his tithe. He would come with his 10%. And he was doing the keys. He shocked me. But the guys that do music, I don't know whether it's a philosophy that was cultured in them that because you're doing music, then you shouldn't pay your tithe. It's never like that. Do I have a church? Yes. The second category of people, no guys, sorry, I didn't know you guys. I'm just saying. Don't feel offended. The second category of people that don't pay their tithe, in my experience, this is after the music guys, the band guys. The second category of people that I've noticed who never want to pay their tithe, and some will pay because of learning, are students. People that are students. They will choose not to pay their tithe. I don't know why. They get money, and they get money different ways, but they will not pay their tithe. When I was a student, I was paying my tithe. I mean, when I was a university student, I was paying my tithe. When I was a high school student, I was paying my tithe. Do you understand what I'm saying to you today? Yes. And so, if you don't culture yourself, I know there are a couple of students that are here. You are the one I'm preaching to. If you don't move yourself out of the thing that says, I'm still a dependent. Do I have a church here? Yes. Once you are now of age and you can process information, you pay your tithe. So if you get boyfriend allowance and you're still a student, they are silent today. Okay, let's go to the girls. If you get girlfriend allowance and you're still a student, you pay your tithe. Tithe is 10% of everything you receive in your life. 10% of everything. Whether it's a gift, whether it's money that you've worked for. If you've worked for it, then 10% must come to God. Do I have a church here? Yes. And one of the considerations I make when I want somebody to lead something is whether they are faithful tithe. Yeah, now it's becoming very intense and deeper. I'm not putting anyone in any position if I'm not seeing your tithe in church. Yes, so one way you can disqualify yourself is just not to pay tithe. And I am very honorable as a church leader. I walk up to you and I say, where is your tithe? I'm not seeing it. There are 2 reasons I do that. Number 1 is, are you working? If you're not working, then we need to find you some job. Confirm? Yes, we need to get you working, doing something. Number 2, if you're working and you're not paying your tithe, then there is a seed of rebellion. We need to crush it. Especially if you are a lady. Do I have a church here? Do I have a church? So 10% of everything that comes your way, you give to God. That's your tithe. And when you give to God, you bring it into the house of the Lord. Yes, your parents need money. They are struggling. You don't take money from your tithe and then you give it to your parents. You are only extending the curse. Do I have a church here? Yes. Yes. There is a big temptation towards that. To say, oh no, you know what? My brother doesn't have shoes, so I need to buy him shoes. No, let him walk. Bishop doesn't care anymore. I don't care for you to be poor. I care for you to be rich. Hello? Yes, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. There are times where I've had to take the tithe and I know here there is no sufficient money to do what I want to do. And I just know that I have to do what is right with God. Either way, I think I'm a very big giver. I just give to God. I was asking God this morning, I was saying, look at the money that I give you. He said I gave him almost all the money that I received in the week. I just literally gave it away. I'm like, do we have a deal here to give each other money? Okay, now you can stop. I think they're back now. Somebody say amen. Yes. So you give your tithe to God. We're going to go to Leviticus 27, verse number 30. Now, what's happening here is that, did I say Leviticus 27? Yes. Leviticus 27, verse number 30. Okay. This is okay. So Leviticus 27 is the next time we see the appearance of the tithe, as it were. Leviticus 27. Let me use the King James Version here. Did the guys at the back get it? Not yet. Okay. Leviticus 27, verse number 30. Now, what happens here is this. The tithe is introduced in Abraham. Where is the tithe introduced? Abraham is the first man to be recorded to pay his tithe. Then Jacob also paid his tithe. That's Genesis 32 rather. That's when he paid his tithe. We don't have time to go there. Then fast forward the events now. The tithe is now adopted into the system of the nation of Israel. Say it's adopted. Yes. When something is adopted, it's not born there. It is now being brought into. When it's brought into the nation of Israel under the Mosaic law. So most people that struggle with the tithing system always argue that it's an Old Testament principle. It's not an Old Testament principle. It's just contained within the writings of the Old Testament. But it's not an Old Testament principle. Then others will argue and say that is the Mosaic law. No, it was adopted into the Mosaic law. Do you understand? For example, I am adopting Matthew to become my son. He's not born of me biologically, but I have adopted him. Do you understand? If we're to trace the DNA in his blood, it's the Mawire DNA that's in there. Does it make sense to you? Does it make sense to you? So when you trace the tithe, you can't find the DNA of the Mosaic law in it. It was adopted into the system. So upon its adoption, this is where we start now. Genesis, it's what? Leviticus what? 27 verse 30. Right. Let's start in verse number 30. And all the tithe of the land. The tithe of the... So please pay attention to these words and phrases carefully. All the tithe of the land. Let's read it together. 1, 2, 3, go. The tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord. So he says the tithe of the land. That means when you plant corn, whatever happens on the land, whatever is coming of the land, that 10% is coming to the Lord. Then the seed of the land. Whoosh, this is quite powerful actually. The seed of the land. The 10% belongs to the Lord. Yes. Or of the fruit of the tree. So it says the tithe of the land, whether it is of the seed or of the fruit of the tree. So you plant maize meal, you plant wheat, you plant any corn you plant. That 10% that's coming from that harvest belongs to... You have your fruit trees, you have your mangoes, your banana trees, your apple trees. The 10% of that, when you harvest, it belongs to... Then the next part says carefully, it is holy unto the Lord. The word holy there means it's separated. It has been sanctified. God has claimed it to be his. Do you understand now? Yes. You are the one that has labored. God now comes to you and says, I'm claiming this to be mine. In the adoption process. So here now, when Moses adopted the tithe, he was not going to give it more flesh. Right. Let's go to verse number 31. And if a man will at all redeem aught of his tithes, he shall add thereto the fifth part thereof. If a man wants to use his tithe, so Tadiwa wants to use his tithe today. Tadiwa says, I'm going to use my tithe because I need to cover my school fees. Tadiwa's tithe that day is $100. So you're going to take 20% of it. When you come back with your tithe next time, it'll be 100 plus $20. So God is charging interest. Does it make sense to you? Yes, this is how the system worked. Because God knew that kutone vanhu vakatodaro vekutoti vanoita basa rekukwereta antika vaya vanokwereta airtime mungori musemukatogori renti munokwereta tithe rare. Did you go to verse 31? Oh, okay, nobody's helping me out. You sit there. Okay, it's fine. 31. Yes, gift, help me out. You're the one who was running around with it. Yes, so if a man will at all redeem out of his tithes, he shall add there to the fifth part. So you pay with 20% interest. You pay with what? Just look at your neighbor. They are quiet. I don't know why they are quiet. You pay with what? 20%. Most loans are 5%, 1%, 3% interest. Let's go to verse number 32. And concerning the tithe of the head. So the first one was the tithe of the land. Say the tithe of the land. Suppose you wanted to use it to make some deals. God says, go do your deals. You come back with 20% interest. Now here, this is the tithe of the head. You've got your cattle. God is not leaving anything unturned. You've got your cattle. Or the flock. Even whatsoever passes under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord. So Tatinda, this is what would happen. God would allow you to grow your flock, right? Then maybe it's at the end of the year now. The shepherd would take his stuff, and then you would count 1, 2, 3. These are sheep going 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 10th will be taken and put aside. Then he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Takes it, he puts it aside. So if he had over 1,000 cattle or flock, at every 10 you take one and then you put it aside. So the next verse says, verse number 33. Thank you, gift. Verse 33. Let's go. Verse 33 and 34. I will need all of them so that we explain what God is talking about here. Verse 33 then says, I want to use this one. I think it's good. He shall not search whether it be good or bad, neither shall he change it. And if he change it at all, then both it and the change thereof shall be holy. It shall not be redeemed. So what's happening now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you notice number 10 is quite fat. And you like it. Then you say, let me change it. The moment you decide to change it, it's already holy. Plus the one that you've changed it with, it cannot be redeemed. It's already taken by God. Yes, this is it too. Do you understand? Or maybe if it was bad, you notice you go to number 10, you're like, I can't give to God something that's maimed. The moment you try to change it, even that maimed one, whoop, it now belongs to God. So God is simply saying the 10th of everything belongs to me. So whether it's $1 or it's $10 or it's $380, it belongs to God. The next verse, verse 34, then we'll read. These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses for the children of Israel in Mount Sinai. So this is when the law was the tithe was then adopted by Moses into the system. When Moses adopted the tithe, he gave it flesh. Say that after me. Say it again. When Moses adopted the tithe, he gave it flesh. By flesh there, I mean he put a lot of detail to it. Some of which would be very confusing unless you have a teacher that can teach you in the ways of God. So then, we have got to then emphasize. I want us to go to Numbers 18 verse 23. And then I'll start to give you more thoughts that come. Numbers 18:23. Here, I don't want to read the King James Version. It's too much. I don't know what version I'm using here on my internet here. Okay, good. Give me the NIV. Do you have an NIV there, Pastor? No, you don't have an NIV. Okay, that's fine. I'm using the NIV. If you have internet, you can go to the NIV. It's quite easy. Numbers 23. Numbers what? 18:23 to 32. I'll read it for you in the simplest terms. You can still put it up here, son. That's still good. Some will be able to read through. I'll start in verse 22. From now on, the Israelites must not go near the tent of meeting, or they will bear the consequences for their sin and will die. So, watch me carefully. This is the background to what we're about to read now. So the Israelites had a tendency of viewing God. And then some would occasionally see Moses going into the tabernacle, which was God's house. And then they would look on that thing with awe and an excitement. And then in other moments, when they came to sacrifice, they would just come nearby. So now God has to put in place a law now, so that people don't die. He says if the Israelites keep coming close to the tent, they are going to die. Because some of them are coming with their sins. Some of them are coming filthy. And they are not doing it orderly. God is just doing this so that he can establish order and structure. Then he says, verse number 23 now. But the Levites shall do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they shall bear their iniquity, which is their sin. So if a Levite then would then misbehave and then they'll come dirty or filthy, God would then deal with them right there. That's why you hear of other Levites that died when they went into the holy place without having gone through the process of consecration. They shall bear their sin. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that among the children of Israel they have no inheritance. So the Levites now are called by God. They said, you guys shall not do anything at all in your life. You can't go and get a field and farm. You can't go get land and keep your heads and your sheep and everything. You're not going to do that. This is what you're going to do. You're going to go and serve in the house of the Lord all the days of your life. So let me read my version here. Verse number 24 now. Instead, listen to this. Instead, I give to the Levites as their inheritance the tithes that the Israelites present as an offering to the Lord. Does it make sense to you now? So this is why then the tithe was then adopted now finally by the Levites in the priesthood system. So God is now saying that because these guys are not going to have any source of income, they can't go and work, they can't go and do gold, they can't go and work at RBZ, they can't work at CBZ, they can't go and work at Parinyatwa. I don't want them to do anything at all. This is what I'm going to do. When the Israelites come with a tenth, some of you are sleeping. Is my sermon boring? Okay, good. Wake up. Tell your neighbor, wake up. I don't know why they're sleeping. Now I'm trying hard here and they're busy closing their eyes. But the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer as an offering unto the Lord, I give to the Levites to inherit. Therefore I say to them, among the children of Israel, they shall have no inheritance. Verse number 35. Next verse, 25. 25. I think I'm going to correct. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, 26. Thus speak unto the Levites. Everybody, let's go. And say unto them, voice range 1, 2, 3, go. Thus speak unto the Levites and say unto them, right, come on, don't you breathe, Antika? Okay, some of you I know this side can't see. Very soon we'll be having televisions there and there. My apologies. Thus speak unto the Levites and say unto them, when you take of the children of Israel the tithes which I have given you from them. Do you see what God is saying there? He's saying, I've given them the tithe. I've given you, the Levites, the tithe. I'm going to take it from my base and I'm going to give it to the Levites. Does it make sense to you? Yes. I'm going to take it from Florence and then I'm going to give it to Pastor Matthew. Does it make sense to you? Yes. I'm going to take it from you and then I'm going to give it to the Levites. Now he says to those Levites, when you receive your tithes, you're going to take a tithe of it again and then you're going to pay your tithe. So the system keeps going. The buck doesn't stop with me. I still pay my tithe. Do I have a church today? Yes, I still pay my tithe. So you're going to take a tenth of it and then you are still going to give your tithe. God is saying nobody is exempted from paying their tithe. Now, category number 3 of people that don't pay their tithe, my church experience, are pastors. You hear me there? Yeah, the pastors' wives are spared. The pastors' wives are religious in paying their tithe. But the pastors themselves, I've met pastors who don't pay their tithe. And most of them are very broken poor. I'm telling you, they're pastoring churches, but they're broken poor. They don't pay their tithe. Whereas God has put in place a system so that nobody is exempted. Because the covenant of the tithe is the covenant of prosperity. Is to cause you and your generation to abound in wealth. Hear me very well. I will never be poor. Did you hear me there? I will never be poor. I have mastered and understood what it means to God for me to pay my tithe. Did you hear me there? Yes. Then on behalf of Life Excellence churches, we put our tithe and then we pay it. On behalf of the church. You guys pay your tithe, we take that 10% again and then we pay our tithe. I'll explain that thing to you very soon. Let's go to verse number 27. Your offering will be reckoned to you as grain from the threshing floor or of Juice's winepress. In this you will present an offering to the Lord from the tithes you receive from the Israelites. From these tithes you must give the Lord's portion to Aaron the priest. So now Aaron is the high priest now. From the portion that the Levites have received, they are paying their tithe. Are we together there? Then Aaron is the one that's going to stand and receive the 10th of that. So the buck doesn't stop with me. It keeps going. So to my spiritual father, I give my tithe without fail. Every year. I put it together once every year as a lump sum and then I give it. Right from the time I started ministry, I've never missed that every year. I may have never told you just because I don't talk too much like that. But without fail. Without fail. And I know there's some founders of ministries. The buck stops with them. And you're wondering, what's up with these guys? Whoosh, do I have a church here? Yes, the buck stops with them. They are not accountable to anybody. They don't answer to anybody. They don't do anything. They're not like that. And that's where most of their problems are. That's why their churches have so many ridiculous, crazy things that go on there. Because everything ends with them. But God has never wanted to be like that. Verse 29. You must present as the Lord's portion the best and the holiest part of everything given to you. Say to the Levites, when you present the best part, it will be reckoned to you as the product of the threshing floor or the winepress. You and your households may eat the rest of it anywhere. For it is your wages for your work at the tent of meeting. Now, Minister Gordon, yesterday you left very early. You said you're going to work. So at your workplace, they pay you a salary. That's your wage. Yes. Most of you that work here, you get a salary. That's your wage. Those of you that work for themselves, you at some point do pay yourself with the entire profit. You chow it sometimes you want. But that's just rewarding you. That's your wage. Are we together? Most of the problems start, Pastor, when it's now the pastors of the church. Do I have a church here? I have a band that I pay every month. They demand money from me. So next time you see them not playing properly, go in. I'm just kidding. Yes. Yes. So why then is it that when it's the senior pastor's time to get the salary, everybody starts to complain? Today is 1 September. I am very respectful to your workplace. I've never come to you, Nyasha, and I've said, why are you getting paid? You're so quiet. That's what people do. And I'm not just speaking for myself because this system is very good. I'm just throwing it out there because I know there's some of my other sons that are in other places that are listening to me. But life excellence is very good. Nobody's ever asked me why you're getting paid or anything. At least nobody dares to try it. Come and question me. But there is nothing wrong for the men of God to be paid if you are getting paid. Do I have a church here? Now, I'll take it a step further. When you don't pay your tithe, you are causing us not to pay the men of God. Okay. Pastor Matthew is the one that's more privy to this information. There are times he looks at the accounts, ask balance. Mwedzi wapera, tapera tiri pa $320. Apa pa budget redu remwedzi riri pa 1.5. Imwe yacho iri kubva kupi? And Bishop has never gone to Nyasha and said, Nyasha, nipo mari tikape my bills. I've never gone to Melissa and said, Melissa, things have to be covered. I've never done that. Never. I don't have time to be doing that. I'm not that foolish. I'm wise. Hello? Yes. So then who is paying that extra cost when you chow your tithe? Look at your neighbor. I'm talking to them. If this is your first time in this service, I'm sorry you saw me teaching on tithe today. You just have to follow through. Because you start to feel uncomfortable. You are a freshman. Sit down and listen. Yes. So you pay your tithe. What do you do? What do you do? Yes, you pay your tithe. And by the way, the reason I'm preaching this is not for any other reason to raise money. I'm not doing that. I'm doing this because it's part of our series on open heavens. Yeah, so you pay your tithe. But when you don't pay your tithe now, you're going to cause the senior pastor and his wife not to be able to eat. So now, most pastors in my generation, it wasn't there. Where now young pastors are looking for a girl that's at least got a degree. Yes, it started recently. I'm telling you, it started recently. Trust me, most of them are not marrying for love. I tell you, go and ask your boyfriend, what are you in it for love? Yes, most of them now are saying, okay, at least Mama will cover the bills whilst I run ministry. But that has never been God's model. Why? Because the people in the church stopped paying their tithe. You are quiet. I'm just saying, it's an example. I don't feel bad. I'm just teaching. Do I have a church here? Yes, most of them, it's now a strategy to say, at least so that I'm kept properly. And then some of them who chose to marry for love, then decided to open businesses. So now they run a business. I was talking to Apostle Privilege that time. He said, Bishop, you must start a business. I said, do you know that what you are telling me, with the way I'm committed to something, life excellence will close. I'm telling you, if I choose to go that route, my person, life excellence will close. Because when I give myself to something, I give myself 100%. I'm not like you who's wishy-washy. Where you come in 22% and then sometimes, I'm not like that. But then some of them now have to go and start businesses. And then they start a business, they supplement their income, and then they still come and pastor. But now the word they're giving the church is very weak. Do I have a church here? Yes. And now the people that are in that church don't have an open heavens over them because they're living on handouts from the pastors now. So I remember that day I went to certain church, I was heartbroken. True story, I was heartbroken. The pastor got up. He said, I run my own businesses. I'm rich. I've never received a dime from this church. I said, why are you saying that? Do you know that Adam is coming to your service today? Do you know that I've come into your service today? And I receive a dime from my church. So what are you saying about me? Am I wrong? Am I evil? Am I doing the wrong? No. I'm doing the right system of God. Do I have a church here? Now, my argument continues. I'm just going to throw it there. If everyone, including the band, say including the band, if everyone, including the band, pays their tithe, there will be no need for us to call for any partnership platform. Never. Because the system, because here when God set it up in Israel, it was sufficient to pay for everything needed. The Levites would be covered. There will be no, even if there was a special conference, there will be no need to call for special monies. People are just going to say, okay, there's money in our coffers. Let's take this. Let's cover this. Let's take this. Let's cover this. Category number 4 of people that I've seen who don't pay their tithe. My experience says Bishop's experience. Say it again, Bishop's experience. Pastor, sorry, no offense. Most people that hang around in the prayer room, most of them, the only person that proved me wrong was Pastor Matthew. Had it not been for Pastor Matthew, I'm telling the honest truth, I would have stood by that principle. But most guys that serve in the prayer department, they don't pay that. I was shocked when I saw him religiously, consistently pay his tithe. I said, this one is very different from others. Yes. But in most circles that I've been around, the guys that are known to be fire-burn prayers, and then some of them become prophets. So now, now the prophet doesn't pay his tithe. Why? Because from the time he was back there, he wasn't doing anything. Please sit. My sermon is powerful. I don't know where you are. Do I have a church here? Yes. 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 That group of people don't pay their tithe. Now, that's the reason why most people who don't pay their tithe live from hand to mouth. Why? Because the heavens are shut over them. The heavens are shut. So you live from hand to mouth. Whatever comes, you spend it there, you squander it. The next time somebody is saying something, you don't have money anymore in your life. Why? Because hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth. And you're struggling. Do I have a church here? Yes. Yes. Now, you know that I'm not the flamboyant type of a pastor that will come and brag about everything he has. No, I'm not like that. The only thing I know I bragged before Life Excellence Church was the new television that I bought my wife. That thing messed my mind up. I'm telling you. I know, you must come home, you see it. Yeah, you must come. That television messed my mind up. I said, there are televisions like this in this world. Yeah, other things I have that you don't know, I don't have to be telling you anyway. Yes, yes. But the reason I'm telling you that is, I am not impoverished. I'm not living from hand to mouth in my life. No, I'm not living from hand to mouth. God has blessed me. God continues to bless me. God continues to increase me. Now, I'm not saying that so that you come and borrow money from me. I won't give you. I will leave you struggling. I can even see you without bus fare. I will ignore you. It's not my business to be giving you bus fare. Do I have a church here? Yes. Yes. But I'm just telling you the process. Like what Pastor Matthew said, the process. There is a process for you to become wealthy, which is tithes and offerings. When you give your tithe to God, God causes you to abound and to increase. There is a category of people that I've met that don't struggle with tithe. It's strange. Even those that I've met for the first time, they don't struggle with tithe. People that are wealthy. Wealthy people don't struggle paying their tithe. I don't know why. Melissa, this is a true story. I met a certain guy, very rich. Very wealthy. I was meeting for the first time. The first thing he asked, before he asked for anything, was, may I please have the bank details? I want to deposit money. I'm like, I'm only meeting you for less than 30 minutes. You're ready. Your mind is so waked up. Not over, man of God, pray for me. Over, man of God, I want to put money. Manji, I met you for the first time. You know who I'm talking about. You came with your plethora of problems. Papa, help me. Papa. Please, next time you see me, say, Bishop, where do I put my money? I don't like the way you're quiet. It's very disturbing. Do I have a church here? Let every other name fade away. Jesus, only you. Do you have a church today? Yes. 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 You must pay your tithe. Say, I'll pay my tithe. Please say it with energy. Even the band guys are saying it. That's powerful. Now I'm watching there's a reason I'm doing it. You understand in the future. Yes. So let me give you, I've got 10 minutes and then we'll pray. Let's go to Malachi 3. Malachi 3. So if you're a student of the Bible, you're going to go search on the tithe more. I wish I had time. I know this is a very lengthy subject, but I'm doing what I think I should do today. I'm not doing this for anyone else other than our church. So I'm not troubled. Let's start in verse number 8. Thank you. Malachi 3, verse number 8. 8, 9, and 10. Thank you. Malachi. Malachi is in the Old Testament, the last book of the Old Testament. So Danai, you've heard me ask you for your tithe, Antika. I'm doing it so that you prosper. I'm not doing it because I'm money hungry. If I needed to give you money, I'll be giving you money every week if I have to. But I'm doing it so that you prosper. And sometimes I'll do it in the most uncomfortable way. And you wonder, why is Dad doing this? I'm doing it for you. Yeah. If ever you've been offended by me asking you for your tithe, you are not a son. Verse 8. 1, 2, 3, go. Iwe taurisa. Is it possible for a person to hold God at gunpoint and chucha him his money? Yes. And they're asking God, you're the greatest of all. How do we rob you? And then God is like, look at what you've done with my tithes and offerings. You've squandered them. Say tithes and offerings. So there's a group of people that give offerings very powerfully. Then they ignore their tithe. Then there's a group of people that pay their tithe, but they don't give offerings. Tithes and offerings go together. Say it after me. Say it again. You don't separate them. They go together. They go together. Verse number 9. You are cursed with a curse. Say that. For you have robbed me, even this whole nation. These are the words of God. God is saying you are cursed. And I hear so many silly theologians, they don't know the word, saying, hey, a Christian can't be cursed. You are mad. Yeah, tell them Adam Rupere said it. You are mad. You need deliverance. Now, go back. Why are you removing it? This is the curse. The curse is disempowerment to prosper. When a person is cursed here, they don't have the necessary resources and ammunition for them to prosper. Yes, it's not there. They don't have opportunities. Opportunities are rare. Nobody's showing them favor. People are just not interested in favoring them. Nobody's coming to say, can we do this deal together? Nobody's interested in striking a deal with them. Their supply of resources is very restricted and limited. So most people, when they think of a curse, they think of death. Death is the final stage. When a person is cursed, they'll wake up, they'll dress, they'll eat breakfast, eat lunch, eat supper, but they don't have sufficient. The curse is operating in their life. Okay, fine, for the past 5 years, show us necessary development in your life. It's not there. So I'll be starting on a series on curses later on. I think lunch hour. I don't know where I'm going to preach it, but I've been studying it a lot. So, but curses do exist. Curse simply means misfortune. There is no proper flow. But Bishop, I'm seeing a person that doesn't even go to church, but they seem to have more than me. They're operating under a different system. But once you come under the system of God, your enemy number one is the devil. He already knows that you are my enemy. Do I have a church here? So you look for loopholes. That's the reason why if you are called to ministry, your zip must be up. Yes. I know what I'm saying. You don't understand, but I know what I'm saying. Your zip must be up. Because your ministry will suffer great hindrance. By the way, you will still be ministering. Mr. Gordon, you even call people, you go. The power of the Holy Ghost will flow over them. But your ministry will be hindered. Because the devil has found a loophole. That's what that curse does. So people that don't pay their tithe have those restrictions over their lives. I report heavily. I was pastoring a certain child years ago. And her tithe was $123 every month. So one day she didn't bring her tithe. I didn't ask, despite the fact that that money was a lot. But I didn't ask. Then the following month now, she came. She had doubled the money. I said, God bless you, paid your tithe. Said, man of God, I want to confess. I said, talk. Said, last month's salary, I don't even know where it went. I said, are you sure that 1,000, because I know the figures. Are you sure that 1,000, you don't? She said, I don't know where it went. I can't even account for it. It's like there were leakages everywhere. That's what nine tithers experience. There are just holes and leakages. All of a sudden, somebody becomes sick. Your mzukuru sekuru gets sick. And they come with that bill to say, please pay for this. And you walk, yes, I've got to do works of compassion. Whap, all the money is gone. That's how the curse operates. That's how it literally operates in people's lives. Do you understand? Yes. Pamwe pacho antika masocks akwani ngachiko bvaruka zviri mysterious. Runokudzai. Kuti unotenga 5 mapair masocks 1 month. But panozopera mwedzi usikuona utafamba sei masocks acho. That's what it does. Yes. That's what that curse does there. That's how it operates. But you can't be operating under a curse. That's not your portion. Do you understand? You are a portion for open heavens. Say open heavens. Here it comes now. Verse number 10. Thank you, son. God bless you. Verse number 10. What does it say? 1, 2, 3, let's go. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. So this is what the tithe does for you now. It says a blessing, not blessings. One blessing. You will not have sufficient room to contain it. Do I have a church here? Yes. The other day my wife counted my suits. She goes, it's my flex moment. I love the suits. That's just me. I don't have room enough to put what I want to wear. You are not listening to me. Now, the way it happens, Pastor Antika, 4 years from now, you see me harvesting of my consistency in tithing. And then now you're like, this man is chowing our money. I want to say, I know I'm chowing. I don't like the way you're quiet. Hello? Okay, just for the record, because should I say this, Pastor? Should I say some of these things? I don't think I should tell you some things. But the way I'm committed to giving to God is too much. I even feel it myself with this is too much. The way you give to God is too much. But I came here without anything. I don't mean on this building. I came in this world without nothing. I've lived on one pair of clothes for over 6 months in my life. One pair. It's just like I don't know what to visa watch or bathroom. Auto not try iron. So I choose auto no iron. I don't one paycheck. I've lived on less. I can boldly say I know how to live in base and I know how to abound. Nothing moves me about money. Nothing. I don't have a big head because suddenly no. Do I have a church here? Yes. I think we need to sit down and start to count everything I've given to this church and bring it back to me. I've given Life Excellence just too much. I've given too much. Including some people that just came and said, it's dead and I'm married, but my man. But why am I telling you that? I know the power of living under an open heaven. I know the beauty of living under an open heaven. I know the beauty. A certain man, my time is up already. A certain man came to me and they had noticed my life. So they said, Bishop, how? I said, well, God has given me grace that there are so many people that are in foreign lands that see me and want to give me money. Foreign lands, they give me money. They just love me and then they want to give me money. They're just like that. And I know why. It's the sacrifices I've made. Being a consistent tithe. So, bishops, even if you say, Bishop, I don't want to give you money, you will see me having more money again. Even if you start to mess you up, I thought I was going to fix him, but it's impossible. So I'm telling you that your windows will open. I said your windows will open. The windows of heaven will open over you. Please stand with me. The windows of heaven are going to open over you. They will open for you. Glory be to God. I said, glory be to God. They will open for you. Please, please. This is not the sermon where we pray for you for your windows to open. This is the process sermon. It's the process sermon. This is a process sermon. Where windows open because you've gone into the system that causes windows to open. Do I have a church here? Yes. 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 Is there anybody that's sick that needs me to pray for them? I said I was going to pray for people at the end of the service. If you're sick in your body, I'd love to pray for healing. It's Prince who texted me saying that he was sick. So he's the one that prompted, come here. Come if you're sick. I want to pray for you. Just, okay. Please. Okay, that's fine. Stand here with me. She wants to stand here. It's him. I won't wait. Church, you stretch your hands and pray. Come down, I take my microphone and pray.